look at what I've been gifted. It's a 2004 McDonald's Hot Wheels Happy Meal exclusive. Quite rare, apparently. Possibly even collectible. So quite naturally, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to turn it into a Gaslands style post-apocalyptic war machine. Let's do some damage. And turn this into this monstrosity. So when I drilled this prior to stripping it, I drilled a few extra holes in it. There's a couple there, and I made a big old hole there. This is for battle damage. Now, some of you may be in shock and horror at me doing that because you'll be saying that this thing's a collectible. I say it's a canvas with potential. I say that potential should involve rust and armour and weapons and damage and abuse. So to continue the destruction of this collectible car, I'm going to be using a jeweler's saw to cut out the square that I've marked on the front there. I have drilled a hole so the saw can get in. So I'll get on with that now. I think it's going to take a while. Yay, it's done. So we've got a hole cut now. It's not as even as I'd like. So I'm going to come in some files now and just clean up that hole. It won't surprise you to know that there's going to be an engine going in there. I've also, while I've been filing, you can see here, I've filed like a dent in the back of the car there. And I've also rounded off the edges of the hole that's been drilled in the side there. We'll be coming back to both those later on. The next thing I'll do now is work on these, which are obviously going to be bullet holes. What I've done is just pushed a tiny little bit of milliput into each of these holes, and I've smoothed it using a wet finger just to try and get the holes now flush with the surface again. I'm now going to use a propelling pencil to just push a bullet hole. Oh, they look okay. Probably need a little bit of filing, but I'm going to let the milliput dry, I think. So we've got the bullet holes done and smoothed out, and I've also put a armoured plate on the side. I'll show you how I've done this armoured plate in a minute. But I'm just going to push some additional bullet holes into this armoured plate to continue the pattern of the holes that are already there. So it looks like battle damage. Just using the end of a ballpoint pen for this. The end result being one riveted armoured plate complete with battle damage. I'm going to do the other side now, and I'll show you how I put this plate together. So your raw material is this, just aluminium takeaway food packaging. Start with a piece that's slightly bigger than the armour plate you want to produce and just flatten it out. I'm doing this by rubbing a steel ruler on it on my cutting mat. Just get it nice and smooth. You next need a piece of thin card cut out as a template for the size of the plate you want. This one's got a hole cut in the middle. If you're just doing a standard plate, you don't need a hole cut in the middle. I've trimmed it down a bit at the corners just so that the edges will be easier to fold round. And now I'm going to push the rivets in. For this, I'm using a sculpting tool, round-ended sculpting tool. I'm just pressing the rivets in from the back side. Don't push too hard, because you want bumps and not holes. All you do now is get one edge folded over to give you something to work to, and stick your template on the back face of your armoured plate. Make sure it is the back face. Make sure that the rivets are pointing outwards away from you. Otherwise you'll end up with a bunch of holes and not a bunch of rivets. When I do this, I try to make sure that the back of the rivets are filled with super glue. The hope being that when the super glue goes off, it solidifies in the holes and protects them from getting pushed in as you play Gaslands with your armoured car. So there you go, one armour plate stuck on the side of the car, and now you can see why I put a hole in the cardboard template, because I'm going to push the aluminium plate into that hole and hopefully through into the hole that I drilled from the door behind, and the flexibility of the aluminium foil will allow it to look like a dent. hopefully just finesse it with the end of a paintbrush. I don't know about you, but I think that kind of works, doesn't it? Works for me. Good enough, I think. Good enough. The window insert is stuck in now. In most Hot Wheels, this is clear. It's like glass. With this, it's opaque black. Just cut some slots in it. But yeah, nothing fancy here. Right, now I've got another piece of the aluminium foil, a strip. I've pushed some rivets in it and made it look a bit like a piece of angle iron, I guess. There's no cardboard template in here. I've just folded it over a couple of times. And I'm going to stick it on the back of the boot or trunk as a bit of reinforcement. Once that's in place, as you can see here, I'm now pushing it into the dent that I'd filed in earlier to make it look like some collision damage or something, just to make this car look a little bit more roughed up. So we got a big old dent in one door here, we've got a dent in the back, and we've got some bullet holes in the other side. A properly battle damaged Gaslands car. So I've made some progress off camera. The stuff I did off camera was mainly just sticking things on, and to be honest, you didn't really want to be watching that. Primarily 3D printed pieces, really. So here on the back, I've got a rear-facing flamethrower. On the roof, I've put some spikes, but I need to fix that. That's come away. Oops. Stuck an engine in the hole, which I filed down to fit. There's a spiky ram on the front, and the bonnet I drilled out where the vents were so that I could fit the trimmed off fronts of some 3D printed machine guns. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I've also armoured up the windows using techniques I've used in previous videos. I'll link a video showing those techniques in the description. There's also some styrene rod that I've stuck here into the wheel arches. Hopefully they'll look like shock absorbers. Painting probably next, I guess. As a homage to the original colour, I'm going to be painting it kind of purpley. I'm sponging and stippling it on because I'm planning to do the hairspray chipping technique. I've covered that in previous videos, which I'll link in the description below. So I cracked on with a normal technique, but I don't think it works so well this time round for two reasons. Firstly, I think the base coat doesn't contrast enough in many places with the colour that I'm doing, so it doesn't show up that well. And secondly, I don't think I let the purple dry for long enough, so it was more a case of washing or scrubbing the paint off rather than chipping it off, which is a shame, but no worries. I'll come in now with this Army Paint Rust paint and just stipple some extra bits on just to make those patches pop a little bit more. Just keeping it random and trying not to overwhelm it with paint. End result is this. I think I probably saved it. Yeah, so let's move on. So the metallics are done now. Dulled down a bit, looking a bit grimy, which is what I wanted. That's good. Just taking the shine off, make it look a bit more Gaslands. I shall next be coming in with this stuff, which is Rust Tone from Army Painter. I'll be mixing that sort of 2 parts to 1 with this stuff, which is their quick shade wash medium, and just a little bit of water to dilute it, just let it flow a bit better. And this I shall be applying over everything. Well, pretty much everything. I won't be applying it on the engine or the weapons. I tend not to rust up the engines and weapons because my thought process is that if your survival in the wastelands depends on your car being able to move and shoot, then you're going to look after the weapons and engine, even if you don't look after anything else. No rusty weapons, no rusty engine. But other than that, everything else is fair game. So the rust wash is dry. I'm now coming in with some more of this stuff, which I'm going to use heavily diluted and just apply selectively on the bits I want to look particularly rusty. Just layering it on, blending it out until you think it looks appropriately filthy. Because if it ain't rusty, it ain't Gaslands, is it? And here it is, done. It's all dried now. I'll put a few streaks in there, but I think it's looking dirty and grimy and disgusting enough now. Don't want to get too carried away because otherwise I'll just ruin it. So that's about it, really. Maybe a little bit of dry brushing and the wheels, and I think that'll be it done. So, wheels. I filed a little slot on the underside here, just to give something for the axles to locate into. The wheels, 3D printed wheels here, I've stuck onto some styrene rod as an axle. Just going to glue them on the bottom now. And I just used a little strip of the aluminium food packaging, just stuck it across the axles just to hold the wheels more securely. And as a final touch, I'm doing a wash of the fresh rust, diluted wash, onto the hubs just to make them look a little bit rusty. And then once that's done, I'm going to be doing a highly diluted mix of the colour I used to dry brush the side of the car with, just running it into the cleats and the tyres to make them look a bit dusty. And then that will be this car done. And here she is finished. Paint is dry. Let's get over to some glamour shots. I do hope you've enjoyed this build. I enjoyed putting it together. I think the disgustingly dirty, filthy aesthetic is suitable for Team Slime as a team sponsor, I reckon. It's all very simple techniques. I hope you like the effect. If you've enjoyed this video, I'm now going to do that YouTube thing and say, do please consider subscribing. If nothing else, give us a like, give us a comment, tell us what you think. It all helps with the algorithm, and the algorithm has been kicking our ass recently, so any help would be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching, bye for now, and we'll see you next time on Wastelands Raceway.